just go tell your accountant to write off everything again. Now you're going to have like 200 grand sitting in the bank account, and now we're going to help you buy 2 houses next year.
That's right.
So it's like, use your skill set of knocking doors and crushing it, and let's hope you knock to buy doors. Not just knock doors, let's knock to buy doors.
It's that time of the year, the #1 door-to-door conference in the world. Door to Door Con 8, January 7th through the 9th. Now, we have done this now 8 years, and we have over 60 amazing workshop and panel speakers where we dive into leadership, recruiting, investments, sales skills, different industries from pest workshops to solar workshops to retail. And we have found people leaving transformative. This year is going to be extra special. We're adding an owner's day for free on the 7th. So come to Salt Lake City, Utah, get your ticket, come celebrate this amazing industry that we live in, and come as a team, learn as a team, and leave as a tribe. Don't hesitate, don't wait, don't be like, oh, I'll get it later. Click the link below.
What up, DDD World? Special podcast today with John Hasebi with Cross Country Mortgage. John, how are you?
I'm doing really good, man.
Cool. Now
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So this has been a long time coming. I moved to Utah back in 2016, and you did a loan on my house, and I think Trevor Maddox might have connected us. Is that? Yep. Cool. So for the last 10 years, we've been connected as you as my go-to guy for anything kind of real estate related. So let's kind of educate the audience a little bit about who you gave me a little backstory about who you are and where you come from, but tell that story again, because I think it was fun about graduating and doing all that.
Yeah. So I met my wife in high school. I wrestled in high school. I got a full ride scholarship, moved me up to Wyoming. She played softball. She went to school, played softball in college, doing the long distance thing. It was brutal, but we made it. I came back, finished up school where she went to school. She won the World Series, softball World Series as a third baseman. We were young, had been dating for 4 years. I was 21, she was 20. And we decided, hey, let's get married. And let's move to
Such
Colorado.
a Utah thing.
Yeah, let's move to Colorado, right? And so that's what we did. I was jobless. I had no money. I think the only money I had in my bank account at that time was the money we got on our wedding. Like, it was like, okay, I have enough money for now, first and last month's rent. And so we moved down to Colorado. I threw my resume out to anybody that had me. I ended up getting a job at Wells Fargo Financial, which is awesome because they're no longer even in business as a division of Wells Fargo. But they taught me everything. Like, you had to underwrite your own deals, collect on your own collections, auto loans, credit cards, mortgages, you name it. And so I got that job and been doing it ever since. So it's been 23 years.
23 years in loans.
Yeah.
So what was that? What was that movie, The Big Short? Like you lived through that.
Oh yeah.
That we probably shouldn't talk about that on camera. There's probably a lot of things back in the day that people didn't even know they were doing. We have to talk about it. So I remember, was that 2003? That was in the middle of it, right? I was single. I just remembered I bought a house. It was a $1.2 million home, and I wrote a check for like 23 grand.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, how does that work actually? And fortunately I was smart. I wasn't, and I had friends that, bought 5 or 6 houses and that didn't work out for them. And, tenants that rented from me that were evicted because they had all those real estate and they got buried in it. But I got very lucky. And I think I bought the riskiest loan at the best possible time.
Oh yeah. And
it worked out, right? It just worked out to a point where I want to say my index was something stupid. It was like 1.5% interest at once. It was crazy. And then the market turned, and I remember Chase Bank called me and go, "Hey, we want to fix your rate at 4% where it's currently at. But we just need to add 18 months to the term of your loan." And I'm like, "Wait, so you're worried about this loan going BK next?" They were like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Fair enough." And so then I got super lucky in the long run. But so you lived through all that. So walk me through the last 3 years of real estate has been tough, and you've been hustling. So educate the world who hasn't been aware of what things were like and what things are right now.
So I mean, it's almost like pre-COVID,
Right.
So you had the 2007, 8, 9, 10. That was kind of that housing crash. And then really from like 2011, really up until 2022. So you had about 11, 12-year run that was, just steady, home prices steadily just rising, interest rates relatively at a low. I mean, you had rates, really that, sub 5, and then in 2020, 21, I mean, it was insane, right? Like 2.5% mortgage rates,
Right.
ARM rates were sub 2, 15-year mortgage rates sub 2. Anybody, I mean, affordability was not an issue because when you're borrowing money for free, right? Basically, like you saw the market. I mean, like here in the Utah market, for example, I think the stat was like 2020, just last half of the year, we saw not only double digit, like 20+% appreciation. And then 2021, so that was 2021, we saw like almost 30% growth in appreciation. It's like, I think it was like 28 point something.
Yeah, my house has doubled since 2016.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane, right? So you had, you literally, I couldn't hire staff fast enough. My team was working, because of COVID, we were working literally 7 days a week. You're working from your house. You weren't meeting with clients. Like customer service went from here to all of a sudden fell off a cliff. Like you didn't meet with anybody. Everybody's scurrying to buy a house. You had multiple offers, bidding wars. It was insane. And then all of a sudden, the end of 21, Feds come out. Hey, inflation's getting out of hand. We're going to start jacking up rates. So they had, you go from 0, the Fed fund rate was like 0 to 0.25%. And just so everybody knows, like Fed fund rate, most people think when the Feds do rate cuts, they think that actually is the mortgage rate, but it's not. It's actually the rate that banks borrow from each other.
Right. And then on top of that, you put the
margin, the index,
right?
or whatever.
Yep,
yeah.
index,
So we go from 0 to 1/4 to 5.25, 5.5 in like an 18-month period, right? Just gets nuts.
And then on top of that, you put the index, and that's where you get the 6 and 7s.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, you see the 10-year Treasury skyrocket, and the mortgage-backed security market just collapses, and part of the reason you saw that was during 2020, 21, because of all the people lost their jobs, and just the state of the economy. The Feds came out. Not only did they cut rates to nothing, but they were pumping billions and billions of dollars into mortgage-backed securities. So artificially buying rates low to make it so, families could refi, pay off debt, make it so people could buy houses, trying to jumpstart the economy because of COVID, right? So all of a sudden they strip that away, no more stimulus, they jack up rates, and bam, 2020, we see rates, peak, like low, high 6s, low 7s. Then last year, there was like a stint last year. I think it was October of last year. We were like a couple weeks like flirting with 8s, like literally a 30-year fixed rate at like 8%. And then just a month ago, the Feds do a 0.5 point cut, and then we see a sell-off in the bond market, 10-year Treasury rallies, and now rates jump. We were high 5s, low 6s. Now we're mid to high 6s again. It's just crazy. It's this seesaw roller coaster. It's just a lot of uncertainty. And so we as real estate professionals, and I'm a mortgage professional, we're just trying to help our clients navigate the best we can. And it's been super wild ride.
Now, we are the door-to-door experts in the door-to-door industry. We are grinders, right? We are absolute grinders, and so are you, right? And you give me my monthly call, and I'm embarrassed to say that I have an adjustable rate mortgage that I'd probably save $500 or $700 a month on if I just took the time to fill out the damn loan app you sent me. And I got to do that. So now I'm going on public. I have to do that. There's no reason I shouldn't do it other than just sit down and make the time to do it. And you are hustling because obviously you have a business, you want to provide for your family. Walk us through, like, in that heat of staff and everybody buying home and appreciation, how many loans a month were you writing then?
So, like me personally, I was doing about 30 a month.
Okay, and today?
This year we're averaging 8 a month.
Right. And
so a normal market, my team, we'd do about 16 to 18 a month. And just, like when we're doing that kind of volume, and I mean, the whole industry's dropped, but like there's the Scotsman's Guide, and like my team always makes it into that. We have like, I don't even know how many years in a row, but a lot, like double digit times. And that's like basically puts us in like the upper echelon of like, we're the top, you know, the best of the best. And yeah, it's crazy. 8 loans puts me in that magazine. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like every day, me and my team are like, how? Anyway, it's just insane. Like the difference, like it's just the business is, it's just different.
And the adjustment that they just made with the real estate laws about commissions to buyers and sellers, does that affect the loan business at all?
I think it's going to affect real estate agents a lot more. I think there's a lot more part-time realtors than there are part-time loan officers. It's really easy in the past, it's been easier for an agent to say, hey, I'm going to have a full-time job. I'm going to help my close network, friends, family. And it's really easy. A lot of them would be like, hey, I'll list your home for $500 so I can take photos, and then I'll make my commission on the buyer, right? Where now you don't know, right? You have to negotiate the commission now on the list side. So I think there would be a much bigger paradigm shift for realtors than really lenders. I think lenders now, with the realtor partners we have that are big listing agents, I think they'll have more control over the transaction. And so I think we'll probably not have to have as big a reach. So we'll be able to work with less agents and do more volume. Now,
when you and I do have time to talk, you overwhelm me with your knowledge and your texture of what's going on in the industry and what things are going to happen. So questions I have here is the loan number of loans has been affected because the rates are high. But I also think, from what I've read, that the number of cash deals have skyrocketed, which also will affect the borrowing. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, what we've been noticing, like with mortgage, is, at least with my team, like our leads aren't down a ton. Like our business is down a lot, right? I mean, we're down probably 60% or whatever, 70%, but our leads are only down like maybe 20%. So our problem is, you get the client, we educate them, we give them an awesome strategy, awesome plan. And then up until about the last 6 months, there hasn't been inventory. So what's happening is, oh, well, there's no existing. So then they wander over to new construction. Then your national builders offer $15,000, $20,000, and then they own their own mortgage company. So we lose the deal. So that's what we're noticing is, before we had a pull-through ratio, every lead we got, we would close about 31 to 32%, would literally fund. Now we pulled numbers actually today. My team did, because we were curious. We have a 20% lead conversion. So we're down about
30%. 30% on your conversion. And so the inventory in Utah, I don't pay attention right now.
Inventory shot up about the last 4 months. We now are about 11,000. But like pre-COVID, 2019, we were heading into recession, and inventory levels were about 14,000 along the Wasatch Front MLS. So we're still lower than we were then, but I mean, you're seeing inventory levels climb.
So as a homeowner, I think, my dad is 84. He's lived with us, him and my mom, before my mom passed, lived with us for almost a decade. He's 84. He is beating stage 4 esophageal cancer. Was in the hospital for 3 months. This man is like lovingly like this pet cockroach. Like, I love my dad, obviously, he's living with this, but I'm like, he's got a pacemaker, he's beating cancer. It's like the guy from Forrest Gump. You call this a storm? Like, he's taking everything on. But we live in this massive house because my parents are living with us. So my wife and I talk about, my oldest is going to be a freshman next year. The youngest is going to be in 5th grade. So the house we have is much too big for us if my dad's not living with us. But then I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't, if I sell my house, I'll double my money, but then where am I going to go? Like there's just not, I'd have to buy a smaller house for similar, like the price value is not there. So is that affecting people selling unless they want to leave the state?
So I mean, what you're seeing is, you have all these people that bought, leading up to COVID. So they bought these homes, and then all of a sudden, 2020, 21, their homes went up 40, 50%. They're all at 2.5, 3, 3.25, 3.5%. So now, the market's been pretty flat, 2022, 23, 24. The home prices haven't really gone up a lot, maybe 4 or 5%, that's it. And they can't afford to move because you go from 2.5 to 7 or 6.5 or whatever, and all of a sudden your mortgage payment goes up $1,000 or $800. So it's like, so I think that's why you're not seeing inventories like get out of hand, is because people can't afford to move because they're barely making ends meet with their super low mortgage payment. And then all of a sudden, like, why would I move to then get the same house and have my payment go up $800 or $1,000 or whatever? So I definitely think that's, so it's like, it seems like to me, the people that are moving are people that have to because of life events, right? It's like, hey, divorce. So somebody has to sell, like they have to sell, and then they buy, each party tries to buy a house, or it's getting married, or it's, they had a couple of kids and so they've outgrown their home. Or like you just gave your example, right? Like if something happens where dad passes away, you're like, dude, I don't need this mansion. Like I got 2 kids, right? Like we need to downsize. So it's like life events is what's making people move, where 2020, 21, and really just pre-COVID, because affordability was different and rates were lower, people they were more apt to move and more apt to invest in real estate and more apt to do things. So, still Utah is, I think, one of the power markets as far as, like we have tons of people moving here. It's a great place to live. We just got the Winter Olympics, right? It's kind of a loss, or it's kind of like this gem. Right. And, like Home Builder Association, this past summer, 4 or 5 months ago, they came out and said, hey, Wasatch Front, we're short 30 to 35,000 units. And then I followed Milborn and Company. I actually invested in these guys. They're big apartment guys, second gen apartment guys. And they had an economic forecast breakfast earlier in October. And like Utah is one of the markets they're investing in. Arizona is one of the markets they're investing in. There's about 6 markets they're investing in. And they said Utah with population growth, and if you take just like building permits with apartments and stuff, you get past 2025 and like there isn't any more people like pulling permits to build apartments and stuff. So you're going to start seeing more apartments as capital gets cheaper, as the Fed start lowering the Fed fund rate. That affects commercial lending. Then all of a sudden you'll start seeing more permits on apartments, which will then create more competition. But you saw a glutton of like 2020, 21, all these people, cheap money, right? Almost free. So all these developers, all these hedge funds, they're trying to do apartments like you cannot believe. The cap rates are insane. Right. And now, like they've been forced to build them all. They're stabilizing them all. And then there's going to be this window where nobody's building them. And then they're finally going to build them when capital comes down. Then it's going to take 2 years to build and stabilize. So there's going to be like this 3 to 4 year window where
a lot of buying and selling.
All your absorption will be done. The rents will be forced to go up, which is then going to make housing go up. And then you look at the housing shortage. People don't realize, like, if you go back, I got this like really cool graph that I show my clients when I meet with them. And I'm like, hey, look, like go and clear back the Great Depression. It shows every decade how many homes are built across the country in all 50 states. You get past, you get like from the 30s to 40s, 50s, about 60s, there's about anywhere between like 22 to 28 million homes built every decade. And then all of a sudden, 2009, the next decade. So 2009, 2019, we go from like 28 million in the housing bubble, right, to 5.8 million.
Whoa.
Boom. There should have been 25 million. Right. So all of a sudden we're short 20 million homes nationwide, right? And then you look at, we start finally like 2019, we're going kind of into recession, then COVID hits. They're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? Like, we can't, like, we don't even know, like what's happening with COVID? Like, no, like everybody froze, right? For 6 months. Then all of a sudden feds come in, drop rates to 2. All of a sudden buying frenzy. And then all of a sudden nobody can build because supply chain issues.
Right.
They finally get supply chain issues figured out in 2021.
Rates go up.
And then rates go up.
Yeah.
So then the only builders that are building are you guys backed by hedge funds, publicly traded. So I believe we're going to have another decade of way low building permits, which again is just going to amplify why real estate, I am like bullish, super bullish when it comes to real estate.
So I just thought of something we were talking. You moved to Spain at one point. Yeah. So that was pre-COVID, and then COVID happened.
Pre-COVID. So
I remember I talked to you once. You're like, "I'm moving my whole family to Spain." I'm like, and I don't get jealous very often, but I was remotely jealous for a minute. I was like, "Man, the freedom to be able to go do that." Was there? What was the story behind that?
So back in 2007, at the time I worked for a different mortgage company. And kind of like how you said, like we're grinders. I've always been like a grinder. I'm like a million calls, constantly just doing my thing, right? And so the owners of my company, I'd only been in business for 6 years. I'd moved back from Colorado, back to Utah, just started my business again in Salt Lake, because we moved back to Salt Lake, like December 2005. So about 18 months, I started working for this company, and they're like, "Man, you have so much hustle, but you're kind of like all over the place. Like we need to like narrow your focus, right?" And so they actually said, "Hey, we'll pay for coaching. If we'll pay half, you do half." And so then I started coaching with this company called Building Champions.
Who runs that?
So Daniel Harkavy's the founder.
Yeah.
He was like an old mortgage guy.
Yeah, I read his book.
And Living Forward is a book that but he like promotes Life Plan. He's like, you got to get your life right before you can get your business right. And so basically they got me into that coaching. I coached those guys up until 2019. And in my coaching experience, my coach back in is 2000, it was 5 years before, so 2014, me and my wife, it was funny. We were watching HGTV. We had several bottles of wine that night and like cheese and all this stuff. And we watched a family. So I have 3 daughters. I'm a girl dad, just everybody knows.
What ages?
17, 15, 13, all athletes.
I have 3 boys, so I was looking for prom dates, but the age is a little higher.
Yeah. My youngest, maybe,
she's in play, yeah.
She's tough. My youngest is tough though. She's just like my wife. But we were watching that show. It had this couple with 3 daughters, exact same age as my kids, and they decided to move to Europe. So me and my wife in our
drunken stupor,
like, we could totally do that. Let's do that. We could do that. And so we woke up the next day sober, and we couldn't stop thinking about it. We're like, we should totally do that. So then my next coaching call with Michael Regan, he was my coach. Still to this day, I talk to the guy. He's actually coming in on Friday. We're gonna have dinner with him. But
nice.
But he's like, dude, if that's a goal you want to have, we're gonna help you execute. So 5-year plan. We saved money every paycheck. We had a Spain or Europe at the time. It was a Europe account, so we didn't know it was gonna be Spain. Save money every month, and then about 2 years from the goal, that's when we told my team. So we knew for 3 years. Told my team. At that time, I had 3 offices. I had like 40 employees. I was flying back and forth to Texas because I had an office there. And we told everybody what the plan was. And then we decided about a year before that we would downsize. So we actually downsized just to 1 office here in Utah. My business partner, or my right-hand man, Nate, he's been with me for 14 years.
I remember Nate, yeah.
Yeah, we've been buddies since 7th grade, believe it or not. He broke my hand in high school playing football. So he basically ran it, and I took a year off in 2019, came home 3 months early because of COVID. But I mean, it was epic, man. My youngest was 7, 9, 11.
Perfect age.
Like, it was crazy. Like, we had backpacks. We got a rail pass for the first 90 days. Spain was home base, rail pass. We literally had 3 pairs of clothes in our bags. And every 4th day, we'd stay at a VRBO that we could wash our clothes. And we just rallied. We went to 44 countries. We did Running with the Bulls, October. I mean, it was insane. Epic.
All right, well, let's talk about something epic for the 1099 community. So I brought you in today, and this loan product that you've talked to me about, we've just tried to figure out a way for you to introduce it to our audience, and podcast ended up being the best way to do it. Walk through some challenges that people who probably already know about, especially with the way the rates changed and qualifying for loans. The challenge with being a 1099 and the solution that Cross Country Mortgage has for that, because this is real.
Yeah. So I don't know any other company that offers this product. The owner of our company, so our company, just, we're like massive. We do about 5-6 billion a month. There's only a couple companies that are bigger than we are nationwide, but they're publicly held, like they're publicly traded companies. Though our company is not, single owner, and he literally breathes, eats, sleeps. He played college football. He's super competitive, and he does not want to lose. He just thinks about how can we add value to our clients, to his sales team, and he basically just ran some algorithms and is like, 1099 people make a crap load of money, and they have really, really good accountants that write off everything. But they have tons of money for down payment. They usually have great credit because they make tons of money. And so basically what he did is he created this product. It's a 1099 product.
What's it called?
It's a 1099.
1099 product.
Literally like 1099.
1099 loan.
It's just a 1099 loan. But basically how it works is, so the average 1099 guy, he generally will get the 1099 from his employer. Then most accountants will have him set up an S corp, or him or her set up an S corp. And then once they do that, then the accountant goes ham, writes off everything. Then it passes through like to the 1040, and then the 1040 shows like 30 grand a year. So you're making $2,500 a month on paper. That doesn't even cover like average sales price in Utah. I mean, your payment's like $2,800.
Yep.
So your payment's higher than what you actually bring home based on paper, right?
Yep.
So he looked at it and was like, this is stupid. Like, these guys, most of them second year making between 150 to 250. So what he said is, we're going to take 1099, we're going to reduce that by 10%. So we're going to take 90% of that income.
Okay, so somebody has a $200,000 1099, you're going to use 180.
Yeah, which is like 15 G's a month.
Okay.
And then, so we're going to take the 15. We have to show that they have 6 months in reserves.
So they got 90 grand cash.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, we'll know. So the reserves is whatever their new house payment's going to be.
Gotcha.
So if they have a $4,000 house payment,
Then they
it's
get 25
24 or
grand.
25 grand, right?
Okay.
So you only need to put 10% down. I will tell you though, you only put 10% down. The rates are a little ugly. They're about 1.5% higher than what the going market rate is. If you can put 20% down, you're going to get a decent rate. Like you're going to be in the 7s probably. So you're about 3/4 higher than whatever market rate is.
Okay.
But the only other thing we do, we basically validate. So we get the 1099 from the employer. We then validate with the IRS that what we got from the employer for 1099 matches what they reported to the IRS. As long as they match up, we use the income, and it's crazy. I mean, we don't even check. Like we've had clients.
So standard loan, you need what? And how is that different from what you need?
So normally what would happen is
W-2 employee submits what?
So W-2 or self-employed borrower, they normally submit either their W-2s, pay stubs, or a self-employed borrower submits the last 2 years' tax returns, and then you cash flow their tax returns. But the problem with self-employed people is they write off everything.
Right.
So by the time it spits out to their personal return, they don't make any money on paper. So we say, we don't even want any of your tax returns. We just want your 1099. We need to show you got money in the bank. As long as you have those two things and you have good credit, we'll lend you money.
So 20% down, 6 months of cash in the bank, proof of 1099, and you're going to get a loan where you normally, couldn't qualify because. Yeah. And how many of these have you done?
So he just came out with this product last summer. So we've done about a dozen of them. They came out last summer. We actually started marketing. We didn't even know about it until we did like this product thing in like earlier this year. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, this came out last year." We're like, "Are you kidding me?" So then I started hitting all the summer sales guys in the spring before they were going to sell. Like started door knocking.
They just got back, right?
And then then we knocked down a bunch in the spring, and then so far we got like a half a dozen right now that we got pre-approved since they all started coming back.
So you just told me about one before we went live. That's probably a pretty good example of a traditional reason to reach out to cross country. You said guy applied for a traditional loan, got turned down, and you guys approved it. How quickly?
I mean, this one was a little bit longer because he had not been. We had to wait To make a long story short, it took us a little bit longer. It took us like a couple weeks because he was traveling all over the world when he got back. That's
what we do.
So he was kind of slow to get us stuff. But like in a perfect world, if he got us everything right away, it would only take us a couple days.
Right. But he was declined for a standard loan, and then you guys approved him, and now he's buying a house.
Yeah, yeah. And like the perfect example is this, like his 1099 last year was 165K. We're taking 90% of that, so roughly like 140 something.
Yep.
So he's cash flowing about 12 grand a month, and he had plenty of money in his bank account to do that. Now, one thing with your first time home buyers, if you have payment shocks, what they call that. So and a lot of these door guys, they're kind of nomads a little bit.
Yep.
Because they're knocking all summer, they're staying various places. And then a lot of times they'll just put their parents' address, but they might live with friends and rent rooms and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So as long as you are putting 20% down and you have a pretty low debt ratio, which most of these people do, they're under 43, we don't have to do any of the verification rent. But if you don't meet those, then we do have to verify rent. And if your house payment is more than 350% of what your rent is, then you have to have more reserves. Instead of 6 months, you'll have to have 9 months. But this is the beauty of this product, in my opinion, is you can get, like this kid that we got pre-approved just last week, he makes 165K. He literally wrote off everything to the point to where he paid $1,800 in state and federal tax. So I think he claimed only 30 grand. So he normally, if you make 165K, I mean, he's probably at like a 28% tax bracket, 6% state. So that's 34% on 168K. And it's probably like 45, 50 G's he would have had to pay in taxes. He only paid $1,800. He's saving himself 40 something thousand bucks. And his payment, he's looking at a house about $500,000. His payment, if we went standard, regular loan versus this loan, was only $230 more.
Right.
So you times $230 times 12 months. I mean, he's literally paying $3,000 more in interest, but just saved 40 something thousand dollars in tax.
I hope you guys see
that is massive.
How much of a grinder John is right there, because most people don't think about the reason why, benefit of 1099 is you do pay, if done properly and with all legally, you do pay lower in taxes, but the trade-off is it's harder to qualify for a loan. So you have to say, okay, for a loan that's $230 more, $2,500 a year, it's going to take you 15 years, 17 years to spend what you saved from being 1099 in the first place.
Well, like this kid, he's like, well, John, I'm like I get paid at the end of the month, then all my trailing income from selling, like the residuals are going to pop in. So by March, I will have made like 280 grand this year selling. I'm like, yeah. So just go tell your accountant to write off everything again. Now you're going to have like 200 grand sitting in the bank account, and we're going to help you buy 2 houses next year.
That's right.
So it's like, use your skill set of knocking doors and crushing it, and let's help you knock to buy doors. Not just knock doors, let's knock to buy doors, because let's help you build a massive net worth.
I mean, that's what a lot of people who are in this industry do, is they want to buy real estate.
Yeah.
And it's gotten trickier over the last few years with the rates and the housing crash and all that stuff. And so this is just one product. So how do people get a hold of you, right? They're going to listen to this. They got to this point. They're looking for the nugget. They found it. And now they're like, I couldn't qualify, or that sounds like a perfect product for me. How do they get a hold of you?
I mean, they can reach out to me, just my office, which is 801-747-1244. Cell phone is fine too. That's 801-706-1110. There's not very many Hasebis out there.
Spell that for them.
It's Hase as in Edward, B as in boy, I. I think me and my 3 brothers are the only ones in America.
Does your office have an Instagram or social media?
I can push that out. I have.
It's all right. We'll add it to the show notes to find your Instagram. We'll probably put your contact information in the show notes. And so the Cross Country Mortgage is the name of the company. The phone number you gave is the number, plus I guess you gave your cell phone. And again, I only like to bring people on that I trust, that especially if I'm going to recommend them. I think you've probably done at least 4 loans for me. We bought those two townhomes. I sold them. I can't, dude. I never tell you, I sold those in Now they're like, I think I bought them for like 265, and I think they're like 580 right now.
Dude, I mean, real estate, I mean, based on like what I just said, like with the debt, like every decade we've had like lost decades, really the last almost 15 years, like way underbuilt. I'm telling you.
I get anxiety like I didn't get in either in this. When I talk about things that I'm passionate about and I make mistakes, I usually get like, as you're talking, I get like, oh shit, I blew that. We sold those townhomes, bought them in 16, sold them in 19 or whatever it was. Made enough money so the real estate agent made money on commission. And I'm like, well, it's $500,000. I left because I sold because as you remember, the rents went down. I'm like, I could get a better return if I sell them and put the money elsewhere. And then of course the rents turned around and went back up. But anyway,
that's what people are dealing with right now. The last 2 years we've seen rents really soften.
Yep.
Like just because, and the reason why is because 2020, 21, like building permits through the roof for multifamily. So now when there's too much multifamily that competes with your single family or duplex or fourplex, but like we get past this next 12 months, now there's nothing else hitting the market than building permit, like that cycle I talked about earlier. I'm telling you, you're going to start seeing, I mean, that company I invest with, they literally think that like right now, average rent for a 3-bed, 2-bath is about $2,200. And they think by 2032, it'll be $3,200.
Wow. So
$1,000 in the next 8 years. So think about that. Like that's just insane.
Right. And if you can't get a hold of him, can't find him, you can just reach me here at DD Experts. He is my loan officer, so I can connect you with him. John, I appreciate you coming in and looking forward to 10 more years of doing business together.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Right. Sure, no problem.